Covered. Okay, there we go. Hi guys. Welcome to another Tarcy Talks. I'm now calling them for now because they are approaching the start of classes. Orientations are now ongoing. Now reporting work much every day for meetings. I'm calling them warm-up classes because this is pretty much a warm-up for when we actually begin classes, at least in Bisay. In Ateneo, I think. No, I mean, we are already starting classes this week, so warm-up for me as well. And so is our warm-up in preparation for the new school year with a lot of challenges ahead. And yeah, there's honestly quite a bit that we can do warm up. So last week we kind of talked about some things, even just that mental prep of getting ready, of getting warmed up, of knowing that you're about to do something. So you're kind of just stealing yourself bodily. That okay, parating na yung class, and to get your body used to normal working hours because you're in Pisay, required ang sorry, hindi required ang synchronous. It's required for the teachers, but the students are not required to attend, which is pretty difficult for a teacher, honestly. So Yeah. Okay. But yeah, we're doing these warm ups, considering these things that people can consider, people can think about preparation for coming coming school year. So whether you're in Ateneo and you're beginning this week, whether you're in UP and you're ending this week, or whether you're in Pisay and orientations are now beginning. So yeah, hopefully, whether you're ending, you decide to keep yourself kind of warm so that you don't cool down too much in the small break in between, or yeah, you're that now you're starting up and so on and so forth. So okay, so yeah, no one's here, but and it's good to talk as if someone was here, so that once there's the people watch the replay, and I think people do watch the replay. Hang on, check really quick. What's our view count from the last episode? We didn't have a lot of people last time, also, but we're not really more about the we're not really about the views, but we also need to make sure that people are watching. Otherwise, we're better off making up other content. Okay, so I mean, uh, more than 40, good enough. I mean, people watch, so keep on doing something. Okay, so in this particular class, we might not talk very long on this because honestly, this topic gets sprinkled in a lot of our past classes when talking about education, whether we were talking about the affairs and all these things. So, Sergio and I would often touch on the different aspects of mental health. Sometimes we refer to the swans or students with additional needs from last year, and there are a lot of different things to it. But now, especially, so the teachers are now attending our uh, uh, trainings, which we normally attend right before the school year begins. And we're receiving attending a lot of seminars, of course, online because of the increased cases of the pandemic. Of course, uh, as an aside, I hope everyone's okay because we're actually getting more cases now, more than ever. So that we're still all practicing social distancing. Is my audio soft? I think no, I'm reaching normal levels. You just increase your volume, Josh. Okay. But yeah, hopefully that you guys are keeping safe. Reason that we are practicing all of this online learning, all of this social distancing, is so that we can hopefully get to a point that most of us are vaccinated, we reach herd immunity, and then finally we can go back to in-person stuff. But we can't do that if the virus spreads. So let's do our best to contribute however we can. Okay, so Joshua, in Discord. Okay, so you're there. Um, so let me intro the topic first. So, like I said, we've touched on this topic before, uh, different classes, but I don't think we've actually ever discussed it directly. And I'm going to be. I brought this up with Joshua earlier this morning. I kind of hinted at the direction that I'll be taking this topic, and it's not going to be conventional, or rather, I mean, at least in the context of our normal viewership, I suppose this is going to be something that's kind of controversial. Maybe not controversial, pero it's definitely not going to be popular. At the very least, not from the outset, not from the initial statement. So, I'm going to have a few takes on mental health in the context of learning. I got, mostly online learning, but I suppose it applies also regardless of online learning. And it might offend, maybe, I don't know. Again, you're free to contribute to the in chat. Uh, you're free to disagree. In fact, we welcome it, or at least I think I do. But yeah, we want to see how. Again, I'm expressing my own personal views. based on how I encounter this uh, issue of mental health from a teacher's perspective. So, of course, you're free to contribute as a student, and let's see if the different perspectives can find some meeting point. Oh, hi, Bianca. Okay, sige. So now that got the intro out of the way, let's join the Discord call. Join Joshua. Hello, Josh.
Hello?
Yeah,
Hello? Hello?
hang
Am
on.
I
Let me.
live?
Yeah, I mean they can hear you. I don't know. Let me just switch to
On YouTube.
there. Just webcam. Okay, there we go. Okay, so yeah. Uh, so before we begin this topic, anything you want to mention?
Wait, I'm a bit confused. Who am I listening to? Who
Hmm?
should I be listening to?
What do you
I'm
mean?
listening on YouTube. Sorry. So hi, good evening everyone. Are we starting right off the bat?
I
That
mean,
controversial? Are
if
we
you
gonna
have.
check on how everyone is? Like Bianca, hi Bianca. She's our resident streamer in our Discord. She was able to share her episode with Ace Attorney. So that was actually a nice gameplay. It made me think about Ace Attorney even more. It's way different from what I'm used to back then. So thanks for sharing. I hope for others also in chat. Also, I hope you could share your what you're doing over this pandemic. Like, do you stream? Do you cook? Do you whatever you want? We're here to help promote your viewership. um, as much as you're helping us promote our viewership. But actually, speaking of what Sir Tarcy was saying earlier, what Mark was saying earlier, with regard to our viewership, I know he sometimes feels like he wants to pull the plug on the stream. But actually, we were surprised to find out that we have a lot of offline viewers. It's not our parents that are spamming the view button because they don't know what we talk about. So even though we mention them a lot in our streams, they'd rather watch K drama. So I don't blame them. But again, we're surprised to find out that we have a lot of viewership of those who watch us offline. I know you couldn't watch online because you might have other previous matters to attend to and so on and so forth. And it's really surprising on our part to find out that we still there's people watch offline. So thank you everyone for those that follow us, and we hope that we could help this channel grow. We really want to make it a community channel, so somehow so that we can post stuff on YouTube. But let's see. We'll try to work on our stuff also on our side as well.
I mean,
Aside from that,
I don't
yeah.
know. I mean, I don't know, when I came up with this, parang it was really just more to not really concerned about making the channel bigger. It's more active, definitely. Parang
No, kasi there are perks when you're a community channel. When you're already a community channel, you can actually
mm,
post pictures and stuff. Like when we wanted to post that we couldn't make it to stream one of our
uh,
Mondays. We
that's right,
couldn't
that's
figure
right.
out how, and Mark wanted to use my personal Twitter account.
Well, I
I
mean, you already
it's
advertise
fine.
our episodes on Twitter.
So hey Juliana. So Juliana, you're a student. And that's one thing that I'm surprised at. We're getting viewership from students that from viewers that aren't our students. So it's hindi naman nakakabahala. Medyo kinakabahan lang ako kasi they don't know who we are outside of the classroom.
Mm,
Or is it better that they know us outside of the classroom before inside the classroom?
honestly, I think I normally prefer it if we actually knew them in the classroom first, so that kind of sets the tone. Because this channel is more of us just talking normally. So if they heard us talking normally in class, I mean, it would. I think I'm pretty similar in the classroom and here, maybe a little less informal. Sorry, a little more informal, pero generally the same.
That's
Uh,
true.
pero yeah, I mean, regardless, so I feel like if they get to know me here first and then go into the classroom and see me, baka the fact that I might be more strict in class would be surprising to them. Anyway,
So Mark mentioned earlier that we had it's actually the start of the, would you say work? Because we had started work last week.
I mean, that's true.
Um
Pero parang ngayon na yung ano eh,
with the meetings, face well, not face to face, but
I
on
mean,
cam meetings.
we actually had a unit meeting,
Yeah,
so parang last week is more of just seminars and ano, pero conferences. So yeah, I mean, we were going, pero parang it still felt like part of the summer. Pero ngayon, it's
actually,
already unit meetings na taking attendance, taking minutes.
I know. Like it hit me differently because like earlier I had to present something in the unit meeting, which was the end of year report from the student council. I had to do it because I was still part of the student council last school year, so it was kind of the project of my advisories. And in
Mm.
that scenario, while I was doing the report, like I could I was supposed to do the report last week. I did start on it in my mind, but I had to wake up extra earlier this morning to work on it. And right after the meeting, I just knocked out cold. Well, after the meetings, like it's a whole different thing if you don't warm up. So this is something that I guess is something not just training for me and you, because after this I'm sure I'm gonna get knocked out again pretty cold after this. uh because it's also something for whether you can, for our viewers who might be students as well. Maybe you want to train yourselves in how to sit down in front of a session, and try to listen as much as you can, try to get as much information. How do you develop the skill of trying to pique your interest while um, an online session isn't going? Because yes, that's true, face-to-face classes is a whole lot different. But when it comes to this scenario, such as an online setup, a stream setup, it's very very much different. We tend to be in the background, or we're so used to having streams playing at the background that maybe it might pour over to our practice, our study habits as well. So this is something, I guess, a very very much needed warm up practice. Something that I was kind of apprehensive on calling this, but I think we really need it for other else. In other news, did you hear what your load is? Well, this is teacher talk, but I wanted to, maybe for others that would like to know. Um, I'm taking up homeroom this school year. I hope I
Uh,
get your homeroom though. Are you getting your home? Are you taking up homeroom this school year?
I applied for load release, so
Okay, so you're not homeroom
probably
anymore.
a high chance of no homeroom because honestly, I've had like 3 different years in which I was told that I wouldn't have a homeroom, only for the first week to
Oh,
start, and I end up with a homeroom. So that has
uh, so
happened.
so you're kind of assuming that the tradition of you holding a homeroom
No,
will still stay.
well, I mean, I'm not assuming it. I'm hoping that I am given a break from homeroom at least for this year. I do need to work
Why
on my
not just say
thesis.
no?
I do. I mean, I try to.
No, it's actually hard for teachers to say no to homeroom because they know there's a need for homeroom teachers to be there. But I guess with the recent, because the mental health toll on students is one thing, but the mental health toll on teachers as well is a whole different thing. It's also there, but it's something that I guess a lot of students don't see, or we teachers tend not to try to show it to the students because it tends to pour over and
Mm.
affect their students as well. In that scenario, since I was in a homeroom this past 1 year, 2 years, was I homeroom teacher the year before the pandemic?
The year before the pandemic, weren't you also,
Yeah, I think
ano, were
was I
you?
photon back then? Wasn't I?
No, the
Oh
year
no, I
before
wasn't.
pandemic was I was photon, parang
Yeah. So I wasn't. So after 2 years, I guess hopefully I'm ready to take up homeroom. I hope I get up lithium. Any lithium or magnesium. They were pretty good kids. But
no, I think
we can't choose. We can't choose.
the
We
sections have been
can't
shut.
choose our sections.
The
They
students
have
have been
been shuffled, yes,
shuffled.
that's true.
And so,
There's a new there's a new guideline with regard to offline students. That's why the sections
mm,
have been reshuffled. But we don't want to share that much information because, again, it's not yet finalized. But I'm glad that the guidelines are there as well. It's very important that we have guidelines for this coming school year. And seeing the guidelines, although late, um, I guess it's something. Have you read through the guidelines?
As much as I need to at the moment because may mga deliverables yan eh. So
It's like
I'm only biting as
five
much as I
pages
can chew.
long. Was
It's
it
not
5 pages
5.
long?
No, it's 10 pages.
Oh, it's 10 pages. Why did I only read five? Anyways, I only read the ones that applied to me. So I guess that's why I felt like it's 5 pages long. But um flag ceremonies, which are optional, that's kind of okay. AM synchronous sessions, where PM sessions would be left for students. That's actually it does sound nice. Actually, what I like that is that the guidelines right now are actually reflective of what the end of year report passed by the student council provided. So it's something that I hope it's uh it's good. There's a give and take response to that, that everyone's adjusting, and they know. I like the guidelines provided the reason why they implemented such guidelines. So it helps information when you know where the person is coming from. And I guess that's something to do with mental health as well. It's hard to understand the person you're interacting with if you don't know where they're coming from. And mental health is something that is very, very difficult to vocalize, something very hard to express, especially in our setting where we're not that much fluent in mental health. You have to understand mental health is very, very new in the Philippines. Well, actually, even globally,
Mm,
it's not that well known. That's why, with the start of advancing human health, physical health, we also have to value mental health as well. But what does it mean to be mental health? Because not only are there misconceptions about mental health, but sometimes people take it to the extent of the misconceptions um to overuse it to their benefit. Mean to say
mm,
they're they're abusing the term mental health, because mental health has to be very exact. Same like physical health, science, and so on and so forth. You have to be very determinative on how you define mental health, because it would tend to abuse if people don't understand what it is.
yeah.
And
Uh,
from the past pandemic, this is something that has been it's one thing that we recognize mental health. We did give several not excuses. We were able to extend as
Allowances.
much help, allowances, that's true, allowances on the part of teachers in order to accommodate the mental health of students. But later on, we figured out that they weren't defining mental health as what mental health is supposed to be. And that's something that um hopefully we're not going to tackle it in depth
Mm,
here,
yeah.
because both of us aren't mental health we're not medical professionals. That's
Hmm.
one thing that we have to get straight. Whatever we do mention as suggestions, this is from our personal opinion, and you shouldn't take it as a medical opinion.
Hmm.
I mean to say, always seek help if you want to know further about this. This is what we're going to share is our experiences as teachers when when not combating, when confronting or when experiencing mental health issues
Mm.
on the teacher's level and also on the student's level. Well,
Actually,
maybe admin. Could we say admin level as well? Well,
I,
I'm not. I'm kind of clueless. Are you
I
part of
don't
the
think.
mental health council,
Nope.
mental health committee?
Nope.
I'm not part of it anymore. Also, so oh well, we can't comment on that.
But one thing I'd like to kind of like add, that you mentioned earlier, was that yun nga, that people were not very accurate in how they define their conditions as for mental health concerns. Uh, and I mean, okay, I mean, so it's like the first year that we're full on dealing face to face with all of these mental health issues. I mean, maybe not really. As soon as the pandemic happened, parang it really came to the foreground. But
Yeah,
I think the and of course allowances. Parang it was pretty much honestly it there was little doubt in my mind that the school would make these allowances. Parang say I mean uh, as much as it might not seem it, parang the school is trying to provide a service for the students, and if the students aren't benefiting, parang that's a problem. So obviously, it's in the school's best interest to really take care of the mental health of the students. But I think what was more concerning, at least when I was thinking about it recently, Was that the help that we were extending to all of these students who were saying that they need extensions, they need allowances, they need all of these things? It didn't help them, or at least it only provided a, I suppose, temporary relief. You're solving the symptoms, not the underlying issue. So okay, you give them an extension. What happens is that thing that you extended, it gets piled up along with all the other exercises. So yun nga, parang as teachers who are trying to accommodate students who are having problems with mental health, uh, our accommodations apparently don't seem to be helping very much. So, and yun nga, so last week, Sir Q and I, we were attending a talk uh, on mental health provided by a speaker from Ateneo. It was actually a really good talk. Admittedly,
Was. It was, and
mm,
I feel so guilty that I was half listening to it because I was studying at that time. So
mm,
something that I guess for Mark that was able to fully attend it could share with us and I'll critique it. So in in a point that
honestly,
I wasn't paying attention.
I wish I know.
No, I was kind of paying attention, but
Mm,
it was hard to take in. She was very. That's what I wanted to emphasize because she was very hard on how mental health should be treated.
mm,
Not hard and harsh in a sense that you have to be firm when you handle mental health conditions. You couldn't
mm,
just baby it all the way through because it's not it won't help the student from learning or any patient from learning from them understanding mental health, and that they would misconstrue that anything that they feel wrong about themselves, it's immediately they suddenly they infer it as a mental health concern when in fact it might not be that case.
mm,
And that was something that was very shocking in a way that, oh, so that's how you're supposed to do it. Because
mm,
tendency that if you don't understand something, you would you would go you would treat it differently. Mean to say you would treat it harshly, mean to say you would deny it because you don't understand it, or you would try to accommodate too much to the point that you're just trying to get by
mm,
and because you don't understand it. So
mm,
that's a very, very good talk. And it plus points that she's a professional in her field. Mean to say, not only does she advocate for mental health as a doctor, but also that it's actually applied in Ateneo.
mm.
Sorry, the Ateneo. Sorry for the Atenistas here, Mark.
But yeah,
Anyways,
she was a great speaker in the sense na yun nga, she's a practitioner. She's an expert in the field of mental health, and at the same time, she understands the context of education. So parang it's a double win. And I yun nga, as good as the talk was, I kind of wish na kasi parang when the school announces these sessions, these trainings, parang okay, you just attend. Uh, and I ki- I mean, I kind of realized that it was a good talk, like maybe 10 minutes in. But by then, parang it's the kind of talk that you actually want to take notes, and I didn't. So parang
you did it.
it was enough to make an impression on me na parang shucks, ang galing nito. Pero at the same time, parang shucks, I need something to take away. Pero I feel like I kind of wish we had a recording na we could access na
HR does have a recording, so if you, I think we can request for a playback for that.
But
But
okay.
for me, on my part, I was
Mm.
more excited on the debate that was going on in chat, and
Huh?
that's one thing that's that's kind of distracting on an online setup is that when you're when you're online, tendencies are that what you have to understand, even teachers to attend as participants of a seminar or even as students in a seminar, medyo di kinda magulo din sila eh. Like the speakers talking about one thing, but the teachers themselves are in chat debating about a whole different thing, and it was entertaining to watch on my part. Like I love the drama, I love the but it veered away from the topic that was
Yeah,
very
yeah.
very much important, which nanghinay ako that they didn't quite understand because it's some people tend to misconstrue what the speaker was saying. Then the other people will try to correct that person, and then they'll dig their heels in order to justify that. And then it's a back and forth and back and forth. And then later on, they're talking about a whole different issue, when in fact that the speaker has already moved on in that
That's
scenario.
true. I'm gonna. Okay.
I love the drama though, but
Okay. So so when I was thinking about this talk, I actually wrote down some points I kind of wanted to hit. So this is like the most that I've ever prepared for for
wow,
Tarcy
okay,
Talk. Okay.
is something bad going to happen? Like
I
Mike
mean,
actually prepared for us. So wait, prepared, by the way. He only messaged me earlier this morning. I was panicking Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Usually Sunday, he would message me. But no, there was nothing like, what's happening? Why aren't you messaging about me, the topic?
I mean, you can message me. There's nothing stopping you.
You're the manager.
Right, right. Okay, so I kind of thought of some, and I felt like I had to think about it because,
Wait, time out, time out. Sorry.
wait.
Before we go, Juliana in our chat is actually Yana. So, hi, Yana. Sorry,
Okay.
we didn't recognize you because you weren't our students yet. Because I couldn't recognize the last name and the first name. So, hi, Yana. For everyone here in stream, uh, Yana is our surprise guest going to be next week or later on. We might. She actually volunteered, which it actually brought us a little bit more energy, a lot more energy in bringing up the stream because uh when when we messaged last week about, was that us gaslighting, like try to guilty our fan base, our viewers from viewing in, because when we said that we were going to end the stream, she actually mentioned told us that she wanted to help us out with our stream. So thank you very much. It
Mm,
really helped our spirits, and we look forward to uh joining joining us in our stream.
mm.
Good luck with your exam today, though. So why are you here? So anyway, good luck, good luck.
You have an exam today?
She has. She was supposed to be our guest today, but I didn't. We didn't push on because she has an exam today. So yeah. So good luck, good luck.
Didn't tell me.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't want to worry you because again, there's a whole lot of
Okay,
again.
okay, that's
Don't
enough. Next
worry.
time. Okay, okay. So anyway, I kind of had to quote quote prepare. At least I want to write down the main points because I thought considering how it might come across, it was important to get the wording right. So I had to make sure that when I say it was something prepared and not something that could be misconstrued. Probably still will
Yeah,
be.
that's true.
Pero, okay. So anyway, so during after the talk, so I was thinking a lot more about mental health and all these things and the context of education. And one thing that I eventually thought of at a certain point, so was this first thing. So I kind of like have three main points over here. Okay, so one possibly controversial point. Maybe you might agree, maybe you might not agree. Mental health and the stress of education is not something that you can make to agree, at least not always. So, parang for example, and this is in the context of students who maybe have this ideal that you want education to be something that will not have a toll on your mental health. And the thing is, with education as it is right now, I don't think that's something that can happen. Parang, because anything that takes effort can cause stress. Parang you have to force yourself, you have to make an effort. I mean, if you completely enjoy it, then there's very little effort, there's no stress, so therefore you're going to know. But I mean, let's admit it, parang learning is stressful. Parang there is stress
Yeah,
involved.
yeah, yeah.
And so therefore, almost by necessity, there is going to be a mental toll. So if there's kind of demand, if you have this expectation of schools to be kind of have this uh, mental stress free environment, I think, I mean, it's an ideal, I suppose, but I don't think it's something that can actually happen. And the analogy I thought of is parang ano, it's like ano, it's like the idea of uh, eating and losing weight. Parang anything that you eat will always add weight, no matter how healthy it is. You're eating salad, you're eating the lightest possible thing that you could possibly eat. No matter how healthy that thing is, it will actually add to your weight, no matter what. It's just a matter of choosing the right thing to eat and the other factors that kind of, in the end, parang you do end up losing weight. So, um, parang ganun yung naisip ko analogy na education will always cause some kind of stress. If it doesn't cause you some any kind of stress, then I mean, congrats. I mean, but if you have to put in effort to learn different things, it will cause stress. And yeah, parang it's something that is almost expected. And it's just a mat. And so the real strategy is how to manage it, how to contextualize it, and to mix it with everything else that surrounds it, so that the end result is a net positive rather than negative. So that you have to plan things so that whatever you quote unquote eat, whatever you digest as a lesson, is outweighed. That your learning outweighs the mental stress that you've accumulated. So
Oh,
parang yun yung unang ano ko. Parang
okay. Let's put it into context of what the oldies would say, because we're actually a generation stuck in between the old thinking and the new ways. So
I would agree.
that's actually that's one of the things, because when you mentioned that, I kind of flash back into what I who I was back then in college, and that how did we understand mental health in our learning setup? Because we understand why the boomers, we would call them boomers, or the oldies would say that nung time panahon namin walang mental health lang yan,
Actually,
which
when was the first
understandably,
when was the
uh,
first time you heard of the term mental health?
that's the thing.
I can't remember it in
I only
college.
heard it.
Eh.
Yeah, yeah. There was no such, like, that's why what we're saying right now. There was really no such thing as mental health back then, because uh it's just stress, but
Yes.
it was more on how you manage stress. It was only later on when they discovered that there are some people that they didn't understand the stress that they took upon, and that it was actually a mental health issue na pala, as opposed
Mm,
to others from regular stress. And that's when the thing when people started misconstruing what stress was, because they started feeling that do you know, when it's a common joke in people that would consult WebMD, that whenever they start feeling several symptoms,
mm.
like natatay ako, or I start off with that symptoms, but I'm feeling a little bit feverish, medyo natatay ako, and I feel dizzy, I can't see too far, then it's always death that's
Mm.
on the one of the uh, you're experiencing death or you're experiencing cancer. So
Yeah.
parang if you consult something that is not an expert on the topic, tendency is that your concept of that thing would be warped as well. So in that scenario, people started using mental health as a crutch. That's what was mentioned in the seminar. There were two things that were very uh, very, I guess, outstanding. There was one was grit, and second was crutch. Grit means, say, people back then that didn't understand the concept of mental health would actually work through it, and how they figured out how to manage it, which is something that might be missing from uh this generation, because we're also stuck in a generation when we also understand that mental health is a concern and we also experience it. uh okay, so let's bring it back to our experience. For
Mm.
you back then in college, what would you do when you're faced with something very stressful?
I mean, you have the different types of coping mechanisms. Some
That's
were
true.
uh, healthier, some were not so healthy. So you have uh, uh, inuman with barkada. You have the denial of upcoming deadlines, and
Yeah.
then the eventual cramming in the night before. I mean, it was definitely stressful, and we'd freely admit that. We'd also freely admit that it was largely our fault. We'd also blame professors. That's honestly kind of a normal thing. Parang, um, but we had to deal with it. Parang yun yung
Exactly.
parang bottom line na. Parang, I mean, yeah, you could put some evaluations, but honestly, we didn't put much stock on that. Yung end of year evaluations on teachers, parang, or complain to the admins.
It was
Did
something
we
that we
ever?
felt normal, like we had to
Mm,
do. We were stuck in doing it. For me personally, back then in college, what I would do every after class in college, I would, if I feel stressful, I would actually go to the computer shop because in colleges, sobrang uso yung mga college cafe, yung mga computer cafe that um yun, just play.
Hindi
For
pa uso
me,
yung mga laptop
uh,
nun.
yeah, hindi uso yung laptop. For in that scenario, I would go to the computer shop and then wipe the floor off of people that would play Call of Duty. I was that good back then. And I also tend to dive in my extracurricular activities. In that scenario, it feels like you're opting out, but you're not actually stopping everything at the gate. You still continue on with it, but you uh try to distract yourself and later on you'll deal with it. Like what Bianca said was that, oh, like some form of self-care are actually kind of bad. So that's the thing, that's exactly the thing. You do self-care or you try to manage it in a way that you know how you'll be able to deal with it later on because you know you're going to deal with it. Now whether or not that coping mechanism is good or bad, uh, even us back then, we didn't know which was good, which was
Mm.
bad. Sir Darcy was back then blackout drunk on the street. Like
No.
rumors have it, rumors have it
Yeah,
that
they are
he used to
rumors that are
drink.
completely
He used to drink
untrue.
to the point that he was lying down on the street, that
No.
blackout drunk.
The rumor was I was doing push-ups in the street, which is completely untrue.
That's what he was thinking. Oh, okay. One person. Are we? Is it safe for us to talk about this? Well, yeah, it's our coping mechanism. I would play. There was this one time I was so stressed from studying for an exam. We played Dungeons and Dragons. It was our annual Dungeons and Flagons. So it's D&D with alcohol, and that was my first time ever. I admit that I had blacked out from because I kept on dying, and every time you die, in order to revive yourself, you'd have to drink. And I kept on dying because I kept on pissing off the DM. That at the final boss, I couldn't remember anything because I was laying down outside in the garden because hindi ko na nakakaya dahil the whole room was moving for me. So bad coping mechanism. But it did relieve us from the stress, which later on we still went forward with it. Now, mental health is a whole different thing because there are there are people that really can't medically can't face the thing that they're stressing about, and that's
Mm,
something that needs to be recognized later on. But in order for you to qualify, in order for you to use that, um, for you to be to declare you mentally unfit, you have to really seek an expert in the scenario.
mm,
And it takes a process. The moment that you step, the moment that you stop yourself from beginning that process, you're denying yourself from understanding what you're going through. And I guess that's the disconnect that we're seeing
mm,
uh, from what's happening in education right now. For me, that's why I'm always pushing for mental health because it's something that we all have to understand. I know there are some teachers that feel like you're just using it as an excuse, which I wouldn't feel bad for them or mad at them. I feel sad for them because on the opposite spectrum, they're stopping themselves from understanding the issue that they're
mm.
facing right now. So it's we're stuck in the middle, I guess. Not only me and Sir Tarsi, but even you, people in our chat. It's something that we're going to continue on struggling later on in the future.
Really, I think our main issue here, that thing that we're trying to hit here is that we want to avoid. Uh, yeah. In the talk, it was mentioned the grit and or crutch. Personally, I think my view is more along the lines of we want people to avoid misconstruing their idea of what mental health issues are. And that, yun nga, parang, because nowadays, yun nga, people are sometimes a bit too quick to throw the word around. Uh, yun nga, some difficulties, and then it's an issue of mental health. It definitely could be, but at the same time, uh, yeah, sometimes it's just the natural stress of having to undergo the difficulties of studying, of having to comprehend something that's being forced down your, forced into you through the screen in a very uncomfortable environment. Uh, and so, and it's stressful. So that's undeniable. But as for is it a mental health concern? Um, Possibly, but at the same time, so yun nga, parang stress is expected from, like I said, I feel like stress is honestly partially expected from a learning setup. And if your concept of a mentally healthy learning environment is no stress, then uh, you might need to, it might be, at least in the current setup of learning, of what the goals of education are and so on and so forth. Um, yeah, parang it doesn't mesh. So you're probably going to,
Are you trying to put the quote? Why am I always referring to quotes? But are you trying to use the quote? Pain is just your weakness leaving your body.
no, I'm definitely, I'm not trying to use that code.
We're
Pero,
using it more on if we were to use anime, more of equivalent exchange, I guess.
I guess.
The benefit of doing something always has an equivalent exchange, such as the process of learning does have its toll. Although there are some instances that you love to learn something that you really, really enjoy. But sometimes if you have to learn something that you don't kind of enjoy, you're going to have to figure out how you're going to deal with it because it's the only path that you can take. Unless you can think of another way to learn it, then go by all means, try to take that path. But if you can only see yourself seeing that path is the only way, you have to manage how are you going to tackle this path from here on out. I like what Bianca said. So I think the reason why people have a lot of mental health issues now is because it's really hard to get help and support now. Um, like psychiatrists are like fully booked and have a long wait
Mm.
time. That's true. That's another thing. Not only does the knowledge about mental health is not that well known in society that we have right here, but also everything's starting. But we have to understand that it's one thing that we see it that it's hard for us in this setup. It's another thing for us to to opt out. Like, are we going to use that now as a reason for us to stop understanding mental health, or shall we try to, as much as possible, promote mental health as much as we can in our capability, like what we're trying to do here? We're not mental health experts, but we want to try to talk about this so that it gets out, it gets the
Mm.
word out, and as much as possible, try to pique your interest uh to help you understand what can you do about it, what did your parents do about it back then, what, like, try to expand your circle of influence, and maybe you want to actually consult if you need to be consulted with.
So we're kind of touching on my second point here. Actually, we're kind of overlapping already. And so, uh, so how do I put this? I
Okay,
think,
while Mark is thinking of his thoughts, is my mic good? Is
yeah,
my mic actually okay? Is
yeah,
it
yeah.
clear
Yes, it's
for
clear.
people at it's clear?
I mean, they can hear what I
Ta-da!
hear. So,
So in this scenario, I'm going to
are
advertise.
you sponsored? No, you're not.
No, no, I'm hoping to be sponsored, I guess. So how do bloggers do this? Do they put their hand like that? No, no, no. I'm actually just borrowing this microphone. While my microphone is on lease with Mina, this is the microphone she bought. But it's actually with me right now, so we're going to do a exchange. But if you want to do podcasts, if you want to do streaming like what we do here, you don't have to go for an expensive setup. You don't have to go for Elgato. You don't have to go for, although Elgato, please sponsor us. uh, Mark needs a key light back there. See, it's so dark right now. But in this scenario, actually, this microphone is very very cheap. Like cheaper compared to the to Razer, but Razer's really bad. Um, uh what was who's streaming who's sponsoring Ray Valkyrie, the one with the colorful mic, the
I'm
big
not sure.
huge mic, HyperX. So uh anyways, if you really want cheap microphones, PM is the keynote. Fine. It's a Chinese brand actually, but they actually got it really really well. This is a microphone that seems to be very heavy for its compact size, and I'm just trying to find a adapter for the arm. But anyway,
Oh, okay, are
so
you done?
please sponsor us. I'm just kidding.
Okay, okay.
Uh,
So, anyway, we were saying that, basically, the way that, so the second point is more on, okay, so, we were saying that the way education is right now, it's, uh, doesn't really mesh with, what some people might think is a proper environment for mental health. After that, I was kind of thinking, okay, so kind of like what is a proper way to describe the relationship between the current state of education and mental health. So we can say that okay, current state of education isn't conducive to mental health. We can actually say that and say that it's true.
yeah,
But
that's true. It's very true. We have to understand no one's negating that.
mm,
Like it's really bad. For
mm,
me, I'm actually taking lessons online and it's super hard. It's really hard for me to learn in an online setting. But I
okay.
have to figure it out. That's the thing.
Um, but actually, my second point, which might be a bit more controversial, is I also don't think that it necessarily aggravates mental health. Of course, definitely the medium, so online
Huh?
setup definitely adds a lot of stressors. Pero education in general, yeah, we did say that okay, any learning that you do is a stressor, pero and that can worsen your mental health. Pero education itself, parang if you consider what education is, it technically is actually ambivalent because the only
Wait.
hmm.
Again?
Okay, so okay, eto. So
We need a subtitle here. Ambivalent.
here's what I'm saying. So
Wait, define
edu-
ambivalent. So
ambivalent.
that
So
we know
parang
you're using it correctly.
it doesn't care. Parang it doesn't matter to
Uh,
Okay? So yun nga, because the only with our current setup and the way that education is being done with tests and all of these things, the only thing that education really cares about is did you learn? And so regardless of parang how that affects your mental health, so parang do you have to study a lot? Do you have to study little? Do you have to doesn't really matter in terms of parang what our education is right now. What matters is did you learn and can you show it by passing this exam, by passing this test? So,
mm,
hmm?
no.
Okay, and
But
now
it's
of
also
course,
very exam, if that's the only thing that I need to prepare for. Like, did you learn?
okay,
Please make me pass.
no, pero okay. Now let's kind of qualify that. Kasi definitely exams are a stressor. So parang in that sense, yeah, you can start to say that education as it is right now kind of contributes to uh, the mental health load and the mental stress. But I was thinking about it more along the lines of how we kind of try to reconcile mental health and because this goes back to what we were mentioning earlier. Na all of the allowances, all of the and so on and so forth. But the thing is, okay, we made allowances, okay, we made extensions, okay, made considerations, but at the end of it all, as teachers, we have to prove that you learned. We have to show that you learned something and that what you learn is enough to pass. So let's think of it more along the lines of physical wellness. Kasi yun nga, parang nowadays a lot more to understand kind of contextualize mental health. They make a lot of physical health analogies. So, for example, ako, uh, I'm at a disadvantage because I'm nearsighted, and my eyeglasses are my way of equalizing things. So by wearing eyeglasses, I can do what other normal people are able to do. So they can see far, they can read far. Yes, is it a disadvantage to wear glasses? Definitely. I have to pay for them. I have to go to an eye doctor every so often. I have to buy new frames, new lenses every so often. So am I at a disadvantage? Do I have because of my condition? Yes, but because of the adjustment that is given to me through my glasses, I am able to perform at the same level as everyone else.
Okay,
Sans
now
the
question.
hmm,
Go ahead, finish it, finish it. What you're saying? Chance
okay.
the
So I mean, minus the cost of glasses and the health required, the
okay.
cost of health. Now, if we're translating that to mental health and education, so for those who are suffering from problems in mental health, whenever you're offered help or a solution, the goal is to get you to a point that you can perform at the same level as everyone else. So that you're able to learn as much as at the level that everyone else is able to learn at. So if you're, if we're talking about mental health issues and your go-to response is to reduce the amount of learning that you have to do, then I think that hindi nagme-mesh yung idea mo of mental health and what education is. It's like,
Ah,
uh,
counterpoint.
okay, go ahead, go ahead.
Objection. No, okay. Two objections in this scenario. But I also have answers for that to help us out. But if I were to argue, is it right? Are we? Is it right to correlate an eye problem in relation to mental health? Are we saying that we're degrading it to the level of physical physical problems?
Why is it why is it degrading? Parang
Exactly. It's
I
not
think my
degrading.
I mean,
It's
are
not
we saying
degrading
that
in
one
that
is less
scenario.
than the other? Parang, yeah, parang, is one less than the other? I don't think so.
Do we
I
have to
mean,
treat them especially different from one another in that scenario? Would you think like mental health is a whole different creature than that of physical health?
well, I mean, the thing about analogies is they only are meant. Okay, so talking in terms of uh, taking from my philosophical studies and um, analogies only work to express a particular idea. They're not meant to represent the entire concept. Uh, so when I'm using the glasses as analogy, it's just meant to showcase that yun nga, parang glasses are a way for me who is uh, uh, am I disabled? That
Yeah,
that's
actually, in that scenario, you
uh,
used it pretty well because
uh,
it shows a disability on your part that eye disability can also be related to a disability when it comes to mental health, like not being able to cope or not being able to face certain stressors. And
mm.
because it stops you, it stagnates you as a person. And in order for you to become, so that's my second question, who determines what is normal? Such as, why are we trying to bring them up to a level that what is normal? I'm not arguing for myself. I'm
Mm.
arguing for the part na what people would mostly say na why do I have to compare myself with what others need to do? Like uh my disability, therefore I should be treated differently, specially.
Okay, that's actually a very nice point. And then, so, um, well, I mean, generally, our standards are based off on quote unquote healthy people. So we see kind of like the norm at which people are able to perform, and we kind of set that as our
Are we trying to
standard.
be Nazis now? Are we
No,
trying to
no,
become
shush.
like we
Okay,
have this superhuman idea? What did they call that persons that were oh my gosh, I forgot. I'm a history teacher pa naman. They had this concept of a superhuman that is what the ideal person should be.
eugenics.
Uh Yeah, yeah, that one. White skin, blue eyes, tall and blonde. So, anyways, go on.
No,
Say.
but okay. So because we have a concept of what is healthy. So if we have a concept of what is healthy, then we can base kind of like what their normal performance is. Then that's kind of what we can expect. Okay. Now, if and we were talking about standards. So should we hold people to the same standards? So parang should I, as a nearsighted person, be expected to work at the standards of people who can see normally? Parang why not just make me work at ano, puro mga close up lang na trabaho, and then yeah, I can definitely contribute that way. But I think okay, admittedly, one, it's a problem with ano, it's a problem with society in which that people are focused. The way that people are evaluated are yeah, it's an effect of how education is right now. That we evaluate people based on tests, and obviously, if you finish more tests, or you score better on tests than other people, then you are more hireable. You are more, you provide more for, and so on and so forth. So, unfortunately, it's kind of like a problem with how we evaluate people and how we're able to choose people to work, to study, and so on and so forth. So that's definitely a problem. But that's our current situation right now. So that's the main problem, honestly. Pero we honestly can't do much about that as it is right now. Slowly, hopefully, we can. We change the way that we evaluate people, but at the moment, that's all we have.
There's
Okay.
no race function in Discord. So, are we saying that we're trying to put everyone up to a standard that we're expecting them to perform this much to perform?
Yes, that is what education is right now.
Is that
Because
bad? Is that bad though?
I mean,
Like, should we conform to standards? Shouldn't everyone be unique in their own way?
the thing is, when you say conform to standards, that's the way that those words are
It
phrased,
sounds bad,
parang
yeah. Yeah, it
negative yung
sounds really
connotation
bad.
eh. But
But okay, in this
okay.
scenario, for me to explain, don't worry.
Sige, sige.
You have to understand that the standards placed in for you is actually the minimum standards in order for you to say that yes, you understand the subject matter. And it's something that me personally, I've actually hit a snag several times from taking the bar exam. There's a reason why you need to have a standard for people to follow. It's because there's a there's an amount of trust that needs to be to expect from you if you have already finished or completed a certain course. I've always fallen short of that standard when taking the bar exam. 5 points, 3 points, 1 point. Yeah, it's really, really bad. But it also shows that because later on, if I become a lawyer, I have to have people trust me that what I'm saying is something that can help them. Because what if we don't trust the standards, or what if there's no standard to be followed? One thing that was mentioned by the Dole secretary was that tanggalin na yung mga licensure ng mga doktor, tanggalin na yung mga licensure exam ng mga lawyers, engineers, and so on and so forth. They don't need that exam. All they need to do is go to college and then okay na yan. But that brings a lot of danger. Can you actually trust a doctor didn't didn't take any licensure examination to make sure that that person is fit to be a doctor? It's
Mm,
hard. It's very hard. And that's why it's same for us as well in Pisay. That's why I always try to try to I really pride the students. I'm very proud of the students that actually go through Pisay because they know that it's a very high standard. Okay, no, it's a it's a very high standard, that's true. But it's a standard required for those that needs to promote science, regardless of whatever course that you take up in the future, whether you become a scientist or not, as long as you have that scientific mind, that's something that's the standard that we hope to achieve. It's the although it's the minimum that we expect. Okay, so who gets to decide that standard? It's a committee. It's not just that one person that decides what the standard is. It's a whole bunch. And you have to understand the standard keeps on changing. As society grows, it changes, it changes, it changes. That's why feedback from my previous episode is very important because it helps us adjust. Like what we're doing right now for this school year, there's a whole different changes. The standard on what we expect of students now is a lot more different, even for us teachers, on how we teach. There's a whole different standard now because we've changed. We've adopted in order to make sure, based from feedback, based from studies, and so on and so forth. So if you feel like you're conforming to a standard, you feel like you're stressed out, you're being restricted from what you're doing because you have to conform to the standard. Try to understand the standard first. Where did it come from, and what's the reason why it's there? Is it something that controls you, or is it just mean, say, a minimum for you in order for you to perform? And then you can go way over, do whatever unique stuff above the standard, and so on and so forth. I thought this was a short stream.
Really? Yeah, I kind of thought too. Okay. Matthew has a question in chat,
Go ahead.
which is so Matthew, as standards as a minimum, I kind of get, but how do you standardize excellence?
Oh my gosh, that was
That's
that
actually
was something for us in Binild. Okay, so in Binild, we had this saying that for Lasalians, Animal Lasal, fine. I think they had something else, but I can't remember. But for us Binildians, oh my gosh, I forgot what the standard was. doing doing something, doing normal things exceptionally.
mm,
Oh my gosh, I have to research it also. It's been so long. College has been so long. Uh, but that's the standard that we adopted for us as Benilians. For Pisay, the standard is truth, excellence, service. And you can see how do you standardize excellence. You can actually find it in the handbook. It was specifically mentioned. A Pisay student is excellent. That promotes excellence. And then there were several examples stated there and what to do, and in like if you're placed in a scenario, what is expected of you. So it's very specific actually. uh it is controlling, that's true, but again, it's something that you opted to do it. And that's something I guess I want to push for students, push for in the admin, is that every year a student gets to re-contract, like a renewal of contract. They can opt out at any time in the middle of the year if they find that they cannot they cannot live up to the standards expected of them, because it's a high expectation. We have to admit honesty, truth, excellence, and service. You have to understand, no other school I think uses that as a standard. They would use what was it, Claret? Do you still remember, Claret? Science,
uh, Scientia
Scientia
maxima
Maxima cum
cum
Virtute,
virtute.
which means
Science is
uh
best with virtue, or knowledge is best
virtue.
with virtue. Knowledge is best with virtue.
Knowledge is best virtue. Mean to say, uh knowledge is great, but it always needs to be virtue. So that's why virtue has been always been the forefront for Claretians. What's Ateneo? What's the
Uh, I
sorry,
I
what's
think
the Ateneo?
I honestly don't know.
Oh my gosh,
Mad.
You're at Atenean. How can you?
Wait, are you talking about the no the ADMG thing?
What's that? Yeah, what's that?
Uh, ad. No, it's AMDG. Ad Majorem Dei Gloria. Basically,
Which
to God all
means,
the glory.
okay, so glorifying stuff. Meaning to say, whatever action you do, you have to make sure that it's in glorification of God.
Mm.
The same goes for in truth, excellent service. Whatever action that you do, you have to keep in mind, does it reflect truth? Does it reflect excellence? Does it reflect service? And expect, like what Bianca said, how would you expect that from someone that was 13 to contract? And that's why I always say, I always try to push for a recontracting every school year, because every time as you grow, get to know and more about the institution, and you can opt out. But there has to be a fair trade there. You have to pay for what was invested in you. You have to understand that as a government institution, it's meant to invest into the youth in order for them to promote and make sure that what's happening now won't happen again later on in the future, because you will replace us. You will replace the higher ups. And by the way, short advertisement again, sorry Mark. Only 27% of Pisay, of those eligible to vote in Pisay, for those eligible to vote in this coming election in Pisay, only 27% has uh have
Registered.
registered. So mean to say the remaining mark out 73%. 73% have not yet registered. So it's scary. Um Especially because I thought Toxai 4 and I thought they knew better. Here's me gaslighting you guys. No, guilt trip. But no, I know uh abstinence? Tama ba? Vote abstaining to vote. It's a choice. It's a political choice. Sorry. Uh, but I hope you guys just register. Yun na lang. Register is a whole. You still have to be obliged to register.
I
Anyways,
mean, honestly, it's a way to live out service. So parang we can
yeah,
leave it
it
at
is. Oh my gosh, yeah, it's service. Oh my gosh, I should use that. Anyways, going
that.
back.
Okay, anyway, so we were talking about standards and
Yeah,
kind of got derailed a lot from there. But okay,
third
and
point.
no, no, I
Not
need to
yet.
finish. I need to finish off that point. Okay, so you were saying anyway, we initially started that as okay, should we be holding people to that particular standard? And uh, generally, the rough answer was yes. But honestly, okay, so that kind of goes to the other point. Na for those who are disadvantaged, so for
Point.
example,
First point,
uh,
second point.
na parang the other. So for example, kasi we had mental health is the equalizer, so to speak. Na parang the same way that glasses are my equalizer. That's supposedly with mental health, you should be able to perform to the same standard as everyone else, and the same way that glasses help me perform as anyone else. Um, but yeah, so the question of do we have to have everyone perform at that standard? I suppose technically you don't have to. Of course, there is going to be the difficulty of having people kind of work with your new standard because your standard is going to be different from other people. So, but that kind of goes into the other thing that I wanted to know. So, if you are, I mentioned this I kind of mentioned it in the start of this point that uh, I'm disadvantaged in the fact that I have to wear glasses compared to other people. I even it out using glasses, and uh, eventually it's as if there was no disadvantage. With regards to mental health, it's not that clean cut, admittedly. So if you're disadvantaged, of course, you can take medication to kind of help with whatever you're going through, or you can undergo therapy. But it's not the same way that I can just put on glasses and act the same way as
Yeah,
everyone
it's a
else.
whole different.
But yeah, I think what's kind of difficult right now, especially for those people, is that I hopefully it's not them, but uh, I just want to say that for those people who have mental health issues, you don't have you don't expect yourself to perform at the same standards as everyone else, because the fact is you are undergoing problems that other people are going, which also means that okay, say you are underperforming, say you are getting everyone is getting 125 115 and then you get a 225, then okay, I mean it's a natural consequence of your current condition, and honestly be happy that you did as well as you did given your current condition. If a person has a broken leg and he's still forced to run despite in a marathon despite having a broken leg, then it's almost pretty much expected that he's going to be somewhere in the back of the pack. But I mean, yeah, you finish what you can finish. If you can only finish 60% of the race, okay. I mean, you did your best. You did know. At the same time, you do what you can. You do what you know. Be happy with what you can do. But at the same time, I this might sound a bit hard, pero don't. I hope you don't. Okay, let me just say it as rough as I can. Um, the world will not necessarily conform to uh, yun nga, parang to what you're able to achieve. So parang if you do your best, yeah, okay, definitely. Uh, it's great that you did your best, but don't expect to get an uno for it because you're already working at a disadvantage. So your best will not necessarily be at the standards of society, and you can't expect society to change its standards. You know,
What
parang to
happened to the saying, do your
hmm?
best,
Do
whatever
your
your
best,
best is?
definitely. Whatever your best is, do it, definitely.
Yeah.
Pero I
No,
mean, if you
okay.
expect them to turn a marathon into a 10K run, then I don't think that's something that you can expect out of people.
Well, that goes into mental health as well. They try to set up your expectations on what are your expectations and what are the realities, and try to understand what are the things that you are more capable of. Because if you try to keep on trying to force yourself to reach those, well, it's I'm not going to say it's bad to reach those odds, but it starts to be dilapidate. What was that word?
Hmm?
Dilapidating. It starts hindering yourself from progressing. That's when you have to try to restructure how you view things. Now, how would you answer Nathan's question?
That's Nathan's question. Where is it? Um, the guy with the broken is still expected to run. Honestly, I would say that he shouldn't run. That he should be told to sit out. So, and for those people who have severely debilitating cases, they should be told to the sometimes hard truth that you can't do what you want to do as you are right now. You have to sit down and wait it out. So uh, sometimes kasi it's the person who wants to run. It's the person who wants to continue. Uh, and despite all evidence, all that it's probably a bad idea, uh, we still let them run. So that's uh, that's sometimes difficult.
But does it stop you from actually trying to reach further from what you're capable of? But that's what we see in the Paralympics actually. Um, there are people that understand their limitations and try to break them in a in a in a sport created for them. I mean to say, it's not about creating a whole different category for them to be discriminated. Because again, you have to understand, to discriminate is not necessarily bad. That's a whole different topic. But it's all about how do
That's
you fairly discriminate? How do you treat people equally in the same on the same how do you treat people equally within that same circle? That's a whole different topic that we discussed in Sockside 4. So enroll in my class. Gawa kayo ang master class.
I just want to
Anyways,
say that it sounds really bad out of context. That if
yeah.
someone
If someone's gonna snip it, we're cancelled. Actually, I think we're actually cancelled. Ne? Anyways,
I
finish
have.
the stream.
And how about this thing? So Katrina says, shouldn't mental health be a priority for everyone though? Like regardless if you have diagnosed issues, as in everyone has to eat healthy, even if you have a healthy body. So I
Yeah,
mean,
I do
definitely.
agree, actually.
Hmm. So
Wait,
honestly,
that's all? We
hmm,
stop. Don't you want to
no,
follow up on that?
yeah. So kasi because sometimes we bring up mental health in the context of the people. Well, everyone needs it. Everyone needs mental health. It's just now I guess in our earlier example, we were talking more about those who are suffering from uh, disabilities or debilitations due to mental health. So not everyone necessarily has these disabilities. So, but everyone definitely needs to practice mental health.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
just it's those people with those disabilities, those debilitations that
Who
will
need more
have
help.
to need more help. Will need to adjust their expectations, their goals, their responses to different things. So it's
Also for us, well, I'm not saying I'm mentally healthy, but even for people that it's for everyone. I mean to say, not only have you to know for yourself, but it's also for others as well, so that you understand what others are going through.
okay.
Final
I think
point.
yeah, yeah. That's great. That's great. Honestly, I think we're kind of. hitting it already. Parang very naturally
We're
flows
good.
into.
We have 6 viewers. We're good. We're good.
Because honestly, and this last point I kind of got as I like to just basically scroll down through Facebook and Facebook feed and see if there's a nice article or Tumblr post that I can think about. And the one that caught my eye, like an hour ago, is an article that one of my friends shared was uh, compassion and accountability. And because the context of the article was in the workplace, that if you're a boss and then parang, and for us as teachers, it's difficult because you have to be compassionate. We're actually explicitly told we have to be
Yeah, yeah, this
compassionate.
time.
We have to be compassionate, but at the same time, we have to hold students accountable for whatever they do, whether it's good work or bad work. So uh, and honestly, that's a difficult part for us. That how because honestly, I didn't read through the entire article, but I just the title just caught my eye, and yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Let's add it to later.
How are you commenting on something that you didn't fully read?
No, no,
That's
no. But
bad.
no, but I mean, I'm not quoting the article. I'm just drawing ideas from it. So, I mean, if I'm drawing it differently from what expected, then I mean, that's up to me. But okay, but I did read enough to know that it was saying that
Stop.
that compassion and accountability aren't mutually exclusive. Because some people seem to think that if you parang it's a trade-off na parang compassion and accountability are a trade-off. But doesn't have to be.
Yeah, it
That
doesn't
you
actually.
can be compassionate at the same time hold, at least for us teachers, we can be compassionate to our students at the same time hold them to a particular standard. So you this year, if you're a PSI student, if you're still a PSI student and you're under the new guidelines of PSI for this year, you might notice that uh, there's a bit more, you know, what do you call it, pushback? Not necessarily pushback, but parang uh, definitely we're trying to hear out your different situations, your different and accommodate them, but there's a lot more call for accountability. That okay, so uh, if this is your current situation, if this is your problem, okay, if that's the case, what do you want to do about it? And then
Yeah,
sometimes,
yeah, that
y-
was.
parang you might maybe you'll hear na, um, okay, unfortunately, maybe we have to do something different. Parang that thing that you said, let's add this and this, or maybe let's remove that part. So to hold that, okay, for those of you who are have problems with mental health, are suffering from these uh, disabilities, uh, you have our compassion as teachers, uh, and as much as we can give, definitely. But at the same time, we want to bring you as far as we hope we can bring you. And for that, we have to hold you accountable to whatever you are able to give. Uh, it's going to be painful sometimes, definitely, especially if we kind of, you know how I guess when you do stretches, and I never attended the UP stretching class. There's a stretching PE, if you didn't know,
What?
Josh. There is a
That's
PE
a
for
PE?
stretching, and I've heard from people who
How
have
is that a
taken.
PE?
No, no, no. I've heard from people who have taken that class. It is extremely painful. You might think that it's an easy one. No, no. Apparently, they expect you to be able to. Okay, if this is what you start out with, now you can barely touch your toes. No, you have to be able to put your wrist past your feet next time that you check. Parang ganun yung ano. And to get to that point, they have people really pushing on your back and all. Parang to hear my classmate was really, really painful.
I
And
guess in that scenario, it talks about progress. Like,
mm,
this is how much you can do. How can you show you were able to progress to the next school year? So yes, we understand this is where you are right now. What can we do as teachers in order to help you all the way across to the other side and see that you've actually progressed with what you're going on through with you? Or do you have to actually stop for a whole school year in order for you to work on what you have right now, and then when you're ready, help you through? through that. Now in that scenario, uh, stretching really
No, yeah.
scary.
Bianca, don't worry. They actually do warm up. Pero, yeah, I mean, it's just that the entire process is actually painful. Parang it's not like a one day thing na you start out na barely touching your toes and then the same day. No, it's kind of like a whole stretch. But,
UPP is really really weird. Like for people that from our outside UP, it's just
I'm,
you guys even have pole dancing, right?
it's still there.
Yes, there is. I
No, I
had
mean,
my
I know it was there, but I'm not sure if it still is there. I think it's replaced now with aerial hoops or something.
what?
But
Anyways,
okay,
go
anyway,
for the national sport of the Philippines,
which is
basketball. Just kidding. Anyways,
okay. Honestly, so that's pretty much all of my points. Anything else you want to add?
see now in this scenario, you called me shameless for plugging advertisements such as my Five Fine mic, but I feel like you're advertised by the Dep Ed. The way how she's no, in this scenario, we're just trying to help you get across as far as we can as teachers. Oh, I have a question.
Hmm.
When it comes to, it says be no, I forgot what you said. Be what was expected of teachers? Be accommodating. I
Ah,
forgot what was
be compassionate.
compassionate. Yeah, okay. Be compassionate. Is compassionate subjective? Now,
Uh,
what if a teacher? It's one thing that the our chief, our boss, told us be compassionate, but it didn't specifically say
oh,
how
mm,
or what to do. So it becomes now personal upon the teacher. What happens if okay, they get you as a their homeroom advisor, which the students will be very excited, compassionate, very compassionate, gives extends deadlines way beyond the exam, and so on and so forth. Comsci, I hear, very compassionate ang mga
that
deadline
changes. I
sila.
know that changes this year.
But if you get like me as your homeroom teacher, what if my idea of compassionate is just okay, you can't meet the deadline. I'll wait up until midnight the same day. I'm
mm,
compassionate. No,
yeah,
I'm not like that. But but what if? Like what now? What happens now?
the thing is, ano eh, as much as I know, we were talking about standards and all of these things. Can only put a standards to so many things. Though there are actually a few standards, parang things like standards on how when to check in on students. If you notice, the guidelines na
Yeah,
if a student is hasn't shown up every so often, then it's probably time to intervene.
but that's
So
more
that
on
that
accountability.
yeah, but that kind of balances out. For example, a more compassionate teacher, isang absent pa lang siguro check in na yan as compared to someone who's more. But yeah, the thing is, can,
It's
I don't
hard.
know. Can we standardize these things? Parang, I mean, you can
Yeah,
put
that
some standards, but it eventually comes down to a point of how the teacher is, eh?
the
And
thing is, kasi it's hard. Like how I think there were some experiences from last school year that people found out that there are some teachers that were compassionate while other teachers weren't as compassionate, and then it brought about feelings on the part of other students saying that, oh, I wish I was in their class, or I wish I was uh why are they luckier than we are? Why does Mark have Kazu Kaz Kazuya while I don't have Kazuya, right?
Kazuha.
Uh Kazuha. Sorry. See, I don't have him. That's why I don't know. No, but in this scenario, it does subjective. Like what Nathan asked, can you dictate how to be compassionate? Though everyone has different circumstances, and that's true. We have to understand that. Okay, that's one thing that teachers have different compassionate levels. But same goes for students. How we view students. That each and everyone has their own circumstances, and I think it's always about bringing everything to the table in order where one person comes from, so that we understand each other. It's hard. It's hard the moment that you stop yourself at the door or not meeting halfway with one another. That parang there's no progress in that scenario. yeah, in order to be compassionate, both sides have to be open. And it's hard to open up if like your trust was broken from the start, or your perception of that person is bad already. You have to make yourself a little bit vulnerable in order
Mm,
to figure out how to go about, how to go forward with everything. Kazuya from Tekken. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I kind of, did I say I kind of stopped Genshin? No, I didn't stop Genshin because I still don't have Yoimiya. So hard. I'm already at my what 70th wish, and she's my 50-50. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna buy the battle pass soon
okay.
if it's not if it's not gonna work. But anyways, I do see a lot of people moving on, like moving on to different gacha games, and I've invested so much again. Shit, I don't want to. I can't stop. Anyways, they
Okay.
say streamer pulls help. My girlfriend has been streaming, pulling on stream, and she's been lucky with her pulls. I don't even have Sayu. What's your Sayu?
Hmm?
What's your
C1
Sayu?
on 14 pulls.
Really? You want now? Are you gonna pull pa rin?
No, no, I'm good with C1. saving for ano, saving for ball. Okay, so I think that's it for ano. It extended a lot more than I thought. I thought this would be a 1 hour. Ano, would be
Yeah,
a
I
one
thought
hour
it was gonna
stream.
be a short stream. You said
Yeah,
short stream.
yeah. Apparently, we are talking a lot, so it's a good topic.
If you wanna cancel us, uh, go ahead. It actually brings more discussion.
I mean,
We
not
not
cancel
cancel,
us,
cancel,
but
but
more
more
like
of
if you
if you
want to
wanna
discuss it online
raise,
and
yeah, yeah,
even to contest what you've been saying, then feel free. Yeah.
yeah. Feel free. Promise. We're happy to open our minds again. We're kind of boomers now, I guess, to the younger generation. We don't know. We don't know stuff that much.
Okay, so I think that's it for today. So I think next week Joshua has something planned, which he has yet to tell me,
What?
and he will tell
No,
me.
I
Huh?
don't. You're the
You
on the
said you were going to
topic.
invite someone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But she's only jumping in as a volunteer to to co-host with us.
Okay. So parang ano, basically I'll still come up with the topic.
Aren't you reading my messages?
Okay, okay. Anyway, okay. So I think that's it for ano. Hopefully the next thing that I think next topic we discuss is something that's as engaging as because a lot of people are commenting. So parang even though there's not many of us here. So thank you for that. Thank you for all of
Thank
your
you, thank you,
comments,
thank
your
you.
contributions. It's really good. And yeah, if you want to
Contributions? You're getting contributions? Oh,
as into
okay.
the
Comments,
discussion,
comments. Sorry, sorry. I thought you had a donation set up or something.
like, so,
But
so again, feel free to if you want to bring other people in for discussion. If you want to, I don't know,
topics,
maybe
topics.
you
We
have.
need more topics.
Oh yeah, yeah. Again, Discord is open for you to suggest topics in one of the text chats. So feel free to suggest things there. For
For
so that
those
we
that are
can.
asking us for Genshin or any of our gacha games, just message us. We don't want to post our UID here, but if
Yeah.
you can message us, we're free. We'd be happy. But the thing is, I've been only logging in to do my dailies. I couldn't play that much anymore. It's so hard. I'm not even sure if I can continue co-hosting on November because everything's really jam packed.
Yeah,
But let's see.
I know you'll I'll need I'll look for a substitute on those
Okay. So that's it. Weather report, weather update. I missed the ball on last week's weather. Like I said, it's gonna rain on Wednesday. It rained so heavy on on Tuesday. Like, oh my gosh, we weren't expecting that. But yeah, um, everyone, please stay safe, stay healthy. The cases are rising really right now. If there's no reason to go out, please don't go out. Uh, I have to go out to do some errands, but more on just hatid sundo, and I'm just staying inside the car. But for everyone else, if you can try to have deliveries done. If you can try to find alternatives to make sure everyone's safe, because it looks like it's getting really bad out there. Hospitals are filled up. vaccination. Try to get yourselves vaccinated if you can. For those that are underage, try to try to influence those others to get vaccinated for your sake as well. Because I feel bad for the youth. Oh my gosh, how old are we? For the younger generations, because they're the ones that can't be vaccinated, and they're the ones stuck at home. They're the ones that can't be vaccinated, and they're the ones that are getting sicker. So please, 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 it's a highest ever. It's a highest cases from the start of the pandemic.
Mm.
From the start, so that's like we've already passed the height of wave one, and it's continuing to rise. So please, please take care. We really want to see you guys after this pandemic as much as possible. So take care of yourselves. If you need something to help you through this pandemic, like talking, if you want to talk, if you want to stream, if you want to do whatever, we can play games and so on and so forth. Let us know. We're here for you until we get through the pandemic. Okay.
So yeah, so thank you all to those who came, uh, and we'll all see you next week at the same time. So hope to see you then, and we'd be glad to hear from your contributions and comments again. So that's it. Bye, guys.
Bye everyone. Take care. Take care.